Namaste, bow to you. Thank you for joining me on Thursday, January 20th. Today will be a primarily hip-focused practice, but as always, we'll move the whole body. Let yourself find a comfortable seat, allowing a few breaths here just to arrive in this moment. However, the day has gone so far, you can set that aside off of the mat and allow yourself to be here right now, the only time that is real. And you might notice the quality of your breath, the texture of it, the fullness or thinness of it. Nothing is to be judged here, just noticing. Our quote today will come inspired by my t-shirt. A little more kindness, a little less judgment. If you'd like, draw your hands together in front of your heart, inhaling to create a vibration of sound, an om or a sigh. Releasing your hands to your knees, start drawing those familiar circles, inhaling forwards and exhaling back. You can hold on to your knees as support. If you draw your heart forward, you might lift your chin. As you guide your torso back, you might tuck your chin towards your chest. A few times this direction, and then switching directions when it feels right. You might notice if your lower body is totally firm to the ground, or if it picks up and you kind of rotate around the edges. That's fine too. Come to center and switch the cross of your legs. And then take about 3 circles each direction, just noticing if there's a different sensation. So we have the opposite hip more engaged. Switching the circle direction whenever you're ready. And return to center. A little bit of love for the wrists. Draw some circles with your wrists, loose fists. And then switch directions. Every opportunity to breathe, we can take advantage of. Some full cycles of breath. And then flip your left palm forwards, extending your arm long. With your right hand, guide your fingertips down as if you're pulling the fingertips gently back towards your chest. Extend your left thumb out long and wide. No pain, no forcing or pushing here. But we are actively stretching the wrists, the palm and fingers. Now switch directions. Fingertips pointing up towards the sky, guiding the hand back towards your face. And then a little shake out of that wrist, and then we switch sides. Fingertips pointing down, thumb extended long, stretching through the hand, fingers, wrist, breathing. And switching, so fingertips point down. Wait, let's see here. Fingertips point up. And after another breath, you can give that wrist a little shake and love. And then hold your own hands. How sweet. Draw some figure eights. Breathe. Sometimes I hold my breath. I catch myself when I'm focused on this. Now switch the direction of your figure eights. How's that going? This is why I say I'm never bored. See, there's so many ways to entertain ourselves. One or two more attempts at that reverse figure eight. The brain is waking up. And you can shake the hands out. Let's make our way then to child's pose. Propping yourself if needed. Sometimes it does feel nice to put a little cushion under your hips. You could bring your knees out wide or keep the thighs together as you walk your hands forward, stretching your spine and sinking your hips back. And you could also put a block under your head. You could also go easier on your arms and shoulders, keeping the arms bent. If you want a little action in your feet, you can tuck your toes under. So although we pass through child's pose fairly frequently, and I feel like it's always treated kind of casually, like, oh, that you can rest here anytime, this is a deep hip opener. If we were to turn child's pose on its side, then all of a sudden we're basically in garland pose yogi squat, which is a huge deep hip opener. It's the same shape essentially. So one more breath, seeing what's here. And with an inhale, lift yourself up to tabletop. In tabletop, toes tucked or feet flat, draw some circles, leading with your hips, imagining that the hips are creating this circle. Or you could think that with your navel point, with your belly button, you're outlining a big circle as wide as your yoga mat. Notice what's happening in the hands here. Grip into the fingertips and the inner lines of the hands, index finger and thumb, and switch directions when you're ready. Breathing, exploring the body here. One more breath like this. And then come to neutral tabletop. Step or swing your right foot to the top of the mat, whatever it takes to get there, finding yourself in low lunge. And I'm usually cueing that we squeeze our legs together here. You can still do that, or if you feel like exploring, you might sink your hips really low today. Keep the right knee over the right ankle. You might bring blocks into the picture, bring blocks under your hands. Maybe you reach your arms up to the sky. If you do that, then you might pull on the left arm with the right hand, pulling it up and over, and keep your attention, if you can, on the front of your left hip flexor. So when we add that arm pull, then we're really tugging on the connective tissue, a reminder that everything in this universe is connected. We'll start by recognizing that inside of our bodies. One more big breath here. And then return to neutral. Bring your hands to the inside of the right foot, walking the right foot out a bit, and exploring Uttanapishtasana lizard pose. So depends on you and depends on today. You might keep your torso lifted. The right leg is hugging the right arm. We can feel pressure there. Maybe you lower down to your forearms. I am definitely using blocks here. Some folks go all the way down to the mat. Just be aware if you're really rounding your spine to get where you're going, and you might explore then keeping the spine and heart a little bit more lifted. Also an option as we breathe here is to tuck your left toes and lift your left knee off of the ground. And sometimes there I pulsate, coming forward on the toes and then pressing back through the left heel. Freedom to explore as long as we're breathing deeply and noticing our experience, and we are doing our yoga. Thinking kind thoughts, more kindness, less judgment. One more breath in your lizard pose. And from wherever you've gone, plant your hands, lifting your torso. And we're going to pivot into a wide leg forward fold. You can bring the blocks with you if you're using them. And hinging at the hips. Breathe deeply, and as you start to settle in for a few full cycles of breath, notice how your feet, your foundation, are meeting the ground. You might check in with the pinky side edge of your feet. We want to anchor into that so we're not rolling in on our ankles. And also by pressing into the pinky side edge, it helps us lift our arches. You might even lift your toes. Another full breath, maybe tipping the weight forward into your toes a bit, or into the, what is that part called? Ball of your feet. Good, and now we're going to pivot to face the back of the mat, walking your hands around. Lower your right knee. Toes can stay tucked or untucked. You can keep your hands grounded on blocks. Maybe as we sink our hips really low, maybe you reach your arms up to the sky. Breathing deeply, it's an option to hold onto the right arm with the left hand, pulling up and over. Deeply stretching your right front hip flexors. I suppose that's where the hip flexors are, is the front. Another breath or two. You might catch yourself if there's tension holding in the jaw. You can put some space between the teeth. And slowly release your hands back down to the earth or blocks. Bring your left hand inside of your left foot, walking the left foot out towards the edge of the mat. Exploring lizard pose on this side. The left leg actively hugs into the left arm. We can feel that pressure there. Maybe you lower down to your forearms. Maybe you tuck your right toes and lift your right leg, pressing back through your heel. And maybe you come forward on your right tippy toes and then press back through the right heel, shifting forwards and back. All the while the left leg hugs in. All the while the spine is long and the breath is full. Creating space and exploring. Another breath. Pivoting, we'll make our way back to wide leg forward fold. Adjust your feet as needed and let yourself hang heavy. You might put the block right under your head. Maybe you reach your hands towards your ankles or big toes. About 3 more breaths. Here you can play with shifting your weight forward, balls of the feet, and back, heels, forwards, and back. And then finding that spot that's right in the middle, maybe just a smidge towards the front of your feet. Heel toe your feet in just like a time or so, and then bend your knees, sinking your hips low. You can plant your hands under your shoulders, and with your elbows, push your knees out wide. Let your head hang heavy. So we're essentially in child's pose, just upside down. You can shift a little side to side. This makes me think of a spider for some reason. And slowly we'll straighten our legs and make your way to the top of the mat in forward fold. Oh my goodness, I'm getting a lot of cat love today. Lucky. On an inhale, lift halfway, long spine. On an exhale, fold forward, bend your knees generously, drape your thighs over drape your torso over your thighs. Let your head hang heavy. Another breath or two, you might look side to side or gently nod your head. With an inhale, press into your feet, rise all the way up, reach to the sky. Option to float your heels off of the ground, coming to your tippy toes, big stretch. And exhale, heels and arms down. Inhale, reach out and up. You might bend your knees and lift your heart, finding a little back bend. Exhale, fold forward, long spine, knees can always be bent. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Fingertips touch down, step your right foot back in space. Inhale, rise up, Anjaneyasana, high crescent lunge. Stay for a breath or two. Exhale, bring your hands down to the earth, step yourself into plank pose. Inhaling here and exhaling. Imagine squeezing the block between your thighs, pressing back through your heels. One more breath. Exhale, lower your knees, bend your elbows, and slowly lower your torso down. Let's drop our chest and our chin so we're like a little zigzag. Stay for a breath, and then draw your heart forward, pointing your toes back, sliding your way into a baby cobra. In baby cobra, we can float our hands off of the mat. Shoulder blades are hugging together and sliding down. Lengthen your low back. Pointing your feet back, the tops of the feet press into the earth. One more breath. Exhale, lower your head, tuck your toes. Big breath in, big breath out, and then push the ground away. Strong plank. Inhale. Exhale, find downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. You're welcome to stay here. You are welcome to find child's pose, or if you'd like to play with a figure 4 in downward facing dog, you might bring blocks under your hands, giving you just a little more space to work with, as long as you don't slip too much. Inhale to lift your right heel to the sky. Exhale, come forward into plank, right knee towards nose. Perhaps you can hook your right ankle over your left thigh, and then press yourself back to this figure 4 downward facing dog. And you can also cross the right thigh over the left leg. Just exploring. One more breath. And then on an inhale, come back into plank, right knee towards nose. Exhale, set the right foot down, downward facing dog. Inhale the left heel to the sky, three-legged dog. Exhale, come forward, plank, left knee towards nose. Hook the left ankle over the right thigh or cross the left thigh over the right. You get two very different sensations based on which one you choose. Breathe, however this is going is fine. Doesn't have to look a particular way, but how does it feel? On an inhale, come forward into plank, left knee towards nose. Exhale, downward facing dog, just a breath. Inhale, reach your left heel to the sky, look forward. Exhale, step or swing left foot to meet the left thumb, whatever it takes to get there. Inhale, rise up. asana, crescent lunge. Inhale. Exhale your hands to the earth. Step your right foot forward. We're back in forward fold. With an inhale, we rise up, maybe pressing the hips forward, finding a little back bend. Exhale, hands to your heart. Pause here and check in. You might place your hands over your heart, see if the heart rate is telling you that you've been working. Notice if your breath has changed from where it was 20 minutes ago when we first checked in. Inhaling more kindness. Exhaling less judgment. On an inhale, we reach to the sky. Maybe we come to our toes. That's just an option. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Hands touch down. Step your left foot back in space. Spiral that left heel down. Inhale, cartwheel your arms up into warrior two. Adjust your stance as needed. We can always widen or reduce the space between our feet. Bend as deeply as you comfortably can into your right thigh. So bring the thigh towards parallel to the earth. Notice the pinky side edge of your back foot, making sure we haven't forgotten about it back there. Shoulders over hips, so a lot of us might need to pull back with the left arm a bit. On an inhale, flip your right palm to the sky, reverse or exalted warrior, reaching up and back. Exhale, find extended side angle, cartwheeling your arms. This is where a lot of folks do keep their elbow rested on their thigh. You're welcome to do that. Just be aware if you crunch into your shoulder, you might be like me and be better off to just lengthen the arm, finding a block perhaps. One more breath. And then return to warrior two. Straighten your right leg, pivot on your heels. Switching, so now we're ready for warrior two in the other direction. Bend into your left knee. Breathe here. Connect to the pinky side edge of your right foot. It's paper shredding time. Hey, don't do that. Hey. Another couple of breaths, maybe gazing over your left fingertips. Maybe sinking a little lower into your left thigh. Inhale, flip your left palm to the sky, exalted warrior. Long torso lifting up, then leaning back. Breathing on your next exhale, cartwheel your arms down, extended side angle. The left arm presses into the left leg presses back. That's familiar from our lizard pose. Another big breath. And inhale, rise up, return to warrior two. Hands to hips, straighten your left leg, pivot on the heel, heel toe your feet in, doing a little dance. And make your way back to the top of the mat, folding forward. Option to lift your heels off of the ground in this forward fold, and then bend the knees, sinking your hips low. Knees in alignment with hips. Maybe you find balance, lifting your fingertips off of the ground, maybe bringing your hands to your heart. One more breath. Nice work. Release your hands to the blocks or mat. Step yourself back into tabletop. Frog pose. This is an emotionally charged pose for some of us. Love it or hate it, we'll just explore what's here. I've found that I really like the blocks, or at least a block under my chest, and you can also put the blanket over it. And then the unlimited options are presented. So you can lower your chest to the blocks or earth and bring your legs out perpendicular. You can do both at the same time if you'd like. Or what might be a better idea for a lot of us is to bring one leg out, probably off of the mat, and then lower your torso and belly to the block, blanket, or ground. I'm really looking for that right angle of the thigh and hip and of the knee. You can flex your ankle also. And let yourself settle in and breathe. So if you're doing both legs at the same time, a full-on frog, Mandukasana, I think, we'll be here for a while. If you're doing one side at a time, we'll say about 3 more breaths. Keep in mind this is your time and your practice. Also, if this is an absolute no-go, if this does not feel good to your body, then you can lie on your back, knees into chest, and just open your knees out wide in a way that feels appropriate for you. And if all of that's a no-go, you can also go into child's pose. If you're doing one leg at a time, let's switch legs. Wherever you've gone, can you breathe a little more fully? Taking long, slow breaths into the lowest part of your chest. That is diaphragmatic breathing. That can help us tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, a part of our nervous system that helps the body heal and repair, releasing tension, trauma, stress. Another breath or so. And slowly we'll press ourselves back up to tabletop. Set your props aside and come onto your back. Props still at arm's distance, because we'll have an option to use them. Roll onto your back. Hug your knees in towards your chest, maybe rock side to side. Now cross your right thigh over your left. So our legs are crossed, and then we hug the legs in towards the chest any amount. You might notice your low back. If you're able to hug your legs in towards your chest, you could possibly feel the low back kind of flattening onto the ground. There's hopefully always a little space under our neck. Breathing here, you might stay just like this. Maybe with your left hand on top of your right leg, right hand on top of your left, you might slide your hands down your shins, guiding your ankles out wide and then towards the shoulders. So if you look at this, if you're familiar with Gomukhasana, cow face pose, we're essentially in that shape, but on our backs. So with that said, if you're feeling like you have the mobility and you're feeling squirrely enough to do this, then you might rock yourself up to seated. Alakazam, Gomukhasana. Now, if the right hip is really lifted, you can wedge your blanket under it. Sitting tall here is a lot of work already, so no need to do more. Or perhaps you fold forward, and this is where I'm bringing blocks into the picture to meet my head. Just a couple of breaths. What's here? And however it's going, you might congratulate yourself for arriving and exploring. And it's not good or bad if the body's tight, it's just something to notice. And then we'll make our way back to our spine. If you rolled up, uncross the legs, maybe take them side to side just for a beat or two. And then cross your left thigh over your right, hugging the knees in towards the chest any amount. Maybe checking in, noticing how the back, the spine is meeting the earth. Maybe sliding your hands down your shins. And this is enough. You might stay here. Or if you feel like playing, roll yourself up. Settling in for a few breaths in Gomukhasana, cow face pose. Knees are relatively stacked over each other. Sitting tall or hinging forward any amount. Another breath to expand and a breath to release. And then we'll roll back onto our spine, uncross the legs, hug them in as you shimmy your hips side to side, and then send your arms and legs long for our brief Shavasana, resting and observing the sensation in the body, feeling the aliveness of this moment. Deepen your breath, feeling welcome to stay in Shavasana as long as you'd like. For the sake of this mindful morning practice, we'll go ahead and return to an easy seat, knowing that you can always linger in Shavasana, or I love that legs up the wall. Yeah. All right, if you'd like to close with an Om, we'll draw our hands together in front of our hearts. Inhaling deeply, full of gratitude. Thank you for sharing your time and coming to your practice.